Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. My next guest is John McLaughlin. He's a local Bronx guy who recently traveled down to Florida to watch the Yankees on the road in Tampa and Dunedin. But most importantly, he has a beard. Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. And, I follow you, online on your social media and to see, I love some of the points you make. You're just very passionate about the Yankees. So, just give us a little background, like where you're from and, how you become like a Yankee fan.
Well, I'm from the Bronx. I born and raised here. Grew up when I was 5. My father taught me the history. The fact that it was 10 minutes away made me fall in love with the team. And I've been with them since that point, 1985. So, yeah, I can remember the Wayne Tollison era, which is sadly looking like what we're looking at today, unfortunately. But I assume they'll get out of this. But yeah, that's my backstory with it. I also travel to stadiums. That's kind of a secondary passion. I've been to, if you want to say technically 48, but 49 with an asterisk because I didn't get into Buffalo last year, but I saw some of the action when the Blue Jays played up there. And I plan on going back there in June because it looks like they're going to be playing up there, including the Yankees in the middle of June. So I'm going to try to get to that.
Wow, so
the secondary goal of the stadium thing is to see the Yankees in as many as I can.
So you go mainly to see the Yankees at a ballpark?
If I can. If I can't see the Yankees, like I never saw the Yankees in Montreal, but I ended up seeing the last game the Expos played there. And the old St. Louis Stadium, I never got to see the Yankees play there. But if I can see the Yankees, I will.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I always wanted to do that. I've been a couple of stadiums. Like I've been to obviously PNC Park when the Yankees played there. I think Jabba Chamberlain made his like first start like in 2008.
Yeah.
So that I've seen about, but I haven't done that much. But that's something I would like to do more myself. Even if the Yankees aren't playing, just to see some.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. I mean, they're all different. That's why I like the baseball stadiums. I'm trying to do all of them in terms of football, basketball, and hockey too. But baseball takes priority. It's my passion, but also the stadiums are all different. It's unlike the other sports where the playing surface is going to be the same, whether you're in Green Bay or you're in San Diego, it's going to be the same thing. So it's less of a priority for me, but I will do it when I have more time. I'm actually going back to Tampa in the middle of May. I'm going to see the Raptors play while they're in Tampa. Might as well see them. So
I mean, are you currently in Florida now?
No, I'm in the Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Dunedin and Tampa on the last road trip. I saw the only 2 wins on the road trip, so that was something. But no, I'm back in the Bronx now. Yeah,
actually, I like that post you put up. After 14 games, I've already seen 20% of the Yankees wins. That's like sad news.
That shouldn't be the case.
See, they're off to like a horrible start. I mean, after 15 games, 5-10, something they haven't done since 1997.
Yep.
Even though, again, they did come back to win 96 games and make the playoffs this year. But I mean, do you feel like it's just a little being panicky early, or you say, this could be a real bad season?
I think it's a combination of both. It is too early. It's 20 games in. You can't really make a determination. Plus, there's no runaway great team in the American League. That not only in the division, but in the league. Yeah, the Red Sox are off to a pretty decent start, but nobody buys the Red Sox. They don't have anybody. Their rotation is awful. I don't understand how they're doing it. And if you look at the other contenders in the American League, like the White Sox and teams that people thought would be good, they're hovering around 500 or below. Even the Rays and the Blue Jays. They've beaten us, but they haven't beaten many other people. So I think it's too early to give up on everything, but there's some bad signs there, especially the offense. They can't string 2 hits together. Their at-bats look awful. They swing at awful pitches. It's the same thing that's killed them in the postseason the last few years, but it's happening now in the regular season. Maybe other teams have gotten the pattern of their swings and have figured out how to pitch them because they look brutal. Not one person has had a decent LeMahieu's average is fine, but he's had really not very productive at bats at all. None of them have looked good. Judge has looked just flailing away at pitches 3 feet out of the zone. I don't know what he's swinging at. Hicks has been a joke. None of them have been good. And the only one who's even looked remotely decent has been Gardner. And even then, he's made some bad decisions in the field and on the bases. So, which is not his usual MO. It's very frustrating to watch it, which I'm sure you can relate to. It's awful at this point in time. I don't even blame the pitching, to be perfectly honest. They've been okay. I wish they'd go deeper in games, but the ERA outside of Herman isn't bad. Herman put up a couple of stinkers, but the rest of the staff has been they should be winning more games with this pitch.
No, I totally agree. And like, yeah, I think at this point they lead the league in strikeouts. So, and it has been, but it's just been, I think it's mainly the offense. But I know I just look at my side of if the pitching's good enough, I'm a little worried about Kluber because really haven't seen a great start out of him yet.
Same here.
But overall, I feel the hitting will come at some point. I just kind of feel like, again, even with Judge flailing right now, but you got Judge, Torres, like these guys are too good to just like suck like this. Like at some point, you figure they got to turn it on.
They are, and Stanton has shown some signs of turning it on. He's had a couple of homers lately, but they're also, it falls into A-Roditis. There are home runs when it doesn't matter. I know he had the big postseason, and I don't want to kill him, but he's reverting to form. So I'm worried about him. Frazier can't even get in the lineup because he's been so bad when he gets in there. So I am worried about it, but like you said, it is early. They should come around and play to the back of the baseball card, but it's concerning the way that they have just looked awful. And Boone doesn't seem to know how to fix it. They haven't seen any comments at all from the hitting coach. I don't know what he's doing, why he hasn't chimed in and gotten to any of them. It's been 20 games now. They should have made some adjustments. And meanwhile, looks more like the other teams are adjusting to them. And they've been beaten. That's what is frustrating too. It's not like they've just been beaten by other teams' aces. They've been beaten by openers. They've been beaten by guys who they've never seen making their major league debut, which has happened in the past, granted, but it's not as if they're just being shut down by the Tyler Glasnows of the world. They're being shut down by everybody. They even had Glasnow on the ropes the other day and couldn't get him out of there. That was even more frustrating. That goes back to the whole they can't string multiple hits together. When they do get people on base, they never advance anybody. And the one inning I can point to where they actually looked competent was the last game in Tampa in the 10th when they got the 4-run inning. They looked pretty good there. They made contact. They were hitting the ball to the other field, to the opposite field. They looked like they knew what they were doing, but it didn't carry over. And that's kind of been a trend all year. It's you want to rip your hair out, and I obviously haven't, but you want to.
I totally agree on those points. And this is like really the first test for Boone, because Boone's always like, all right, I'm the cool casual guy. I'm not like the person like Girardi. I'm like opposite of Girardi, but maybe he's going to have to get a little Girardi in him, because I don't know, again, they can shake these guys up. Again, the only time we saw Boone snap was, of course, the famous
Savages in the box.
Of course. So, yeah. I mean, are we going to get that moment with the team behind closed doors? I don't know if Boone wants to be that type of guy, but maybe he's going to have to.
They said the other day that he ripped into them pretty good in the clubhouse, but it apparently didn't work because the next day they came out as flat as they were the day before. So I don't know if they're not listening to him. It can't be the weather because they've played in pretty decent weather. So it's not, they can't blame the cold. In Florida, the weather was pretty good, although one of the games was pretty rainy, but still, it's not as if they've had cold weather conditions. And the other teams that they've been playing can hit. It didn't stop Toronto. Toronto's been able to hit pretty well all year, so it can't be that. It's just a team-wide malaise.
That's actually probably the best way to describe it. And I also think it takes into account, too, is that also we knew Tampa was going to be good this season. I predicted like the Blue Jays would at least be in third place in the AL East, but they'd be good. I think they'd be above 500 teams. So, I mean, they kind of play those teams for a combined 12 games.
Yeah.
So once we get more games against the Orioles and I guess less of competition, that should, get the team a little healthier, maybe hitting more. I mean, again,
it should. That should even out, definitely. But you can't count on that because those teams aren't going to be in the postseason. Your Orioles and your Detroits and your Bostons. And yes, I know they're above 500, but I don't believe it. Those teams aren't going to be in the playoffs. They have to start proving they can win against these good teams. And that was the issue all season last year with Tampa Bay. They couldn't beat them. And it got to the ALCS, couldn't beat them. So it seems to be continuing this year. That's a little concerning, the fact that Tampa Bay is so in their heads. And Toronto, they should be able to hit Toronto's pitching. That's not a good staff up there. But so far, they haven't proven they can do it. They get another chance coming up soon, but hopefully they snap out of it by that point in time.
Now, the Yankees are definitely calling Tampa their daddy, to quote Pedro on that one.
Yeah.
And, another curveball, again, not a big loss, but of course, out of nowhere now, Jay Bruce decides to hang it up. So like, well, why did you even start in the first place? Like, almost like wasting everyone's time.
The funny thing with Jay Bruce is he played well in the spring. He earned his way into consideration, at least, to be on the roster. And with Voigt going down, and made the decision for them. But he's been so bad. I can't believe this is the same guy who was a legitimate hitter with a pretty decent swing for Yankee Stadium when he was playing with Cincinnati and the Mets. He looks completely lost. I don't know if maybe physically he's injured and just isn't telling anybody, or just he's old. I don't know what the issue with him is, but either way, the retirement, like you said, no big loss. And that's probably why they brought in Odor in the first place. They probably saw the handwriting on the wall with Bruce. But yeah, he's falling right in line with everybody else, just can't hit.
Yeah, and like I was a little optimistic when Voigt going down. I figured actually Bruce would be a good thing in a way, just because you get a left-handed bat in there, because the Yankees are too right-handed. And like you said, the swing for Yankee Stadium would be perfect. And I mean, unless he's just like giving up on himself, or probably what you said makes more sense. Maybe he's just hurt because he just knows physically something's there he can't provide. So let me give it up, because if it wasn't, if he was healthy, it's just like, all right, well, the whole team's not hitting, so why don't give up then?
Yeah, there's got to be something else to it, because Aaron Judge is hitting just about as poorly as Jay Bruce, and Jay Bruce went running for the hills. I mean, I understand he probably had other stuff going on, but yeah, I'm sure it wasn't the poor start of the team that drove him away. It was his performance, but maybe he just doesn't see any way he can turn it around. And it's not like anybody else was banging on his door when the Yankees signed him to the minor league invite. So maybe other teams saw what the Yankees hoped wasn't there. He just might be done.
Could be, and look, if that's the case, and give him a good send off. So, I think one of the most important players for the Yankees this season is going to be Corey Kluber, because after Cole, I mean, okay, Severino's going to come back. We still not. I'm assuming he's going to be pretty good, but I think Corey Kluber has to be really good for the Yankees, a number 2 starter for this team to really go anywhere deep into the playoffs and into the World Series.
He does, and he has to start pitching deeper into games. He can't just go 3 1/3 every time out. I think I saw something the other day that he, in his 4 starts, has thrown something like 14 innings. That's unacceptable. You can't have that the whole season. You're going to tax the bullpen. It's just not going to work. And if he's the number 2 starter, he has to go deeper. He has to go at least 6. Cole, you can count on. He's going to go at least 7. Most time, not 9 times out of 10, he's going to do that, and he's going to give you a good performance while he's at it. I actually think Taillon should be the number 2 over Kluber. I like his stuff better. He seems to be further along, at least to me, from coming back from the injury. And Kluber, while he has looked okay, still he doesn't give you any depth. I'd even put him behind Montgomery at this point in time, because at least Montgomery can go deeper. Kluber has been a bit of a disappointment, and I wonder if when Severino does come back, if maybe they move him to the bullpen. Maybe they can't stretch him out. Maybe he just becomes a long guy.
That'd be very interesting. I mean, I think that would be that's really bad news if that's the case with the Yankees, because I think they're going to try to make it work with him, because you invested $12 million, 2-time Cy Young Award winner coming back. But yeah, man, if that's the case, then that would be really bad news, because I think even then if you're looking at, all right, postseason time, you got Cole. If you're going to give me a good Severino, the Severino from 2018, before, then okay, I could go with that. But if I only get Cole and a 75% of a Severino, that's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough.
And then who's your 3 at that point in time? Taillon or Kluber, if he can stretch it out? Montgomery? That's not an appealing option. Maybe Davy Garcia, give him a shot, which I don't understand why he's not up yet, but that's another issue for another day. Herman, to be fair, did earn it in spring training. He was great, but he was brutal his 2 starts when he opened up the season. So if he comes back, I'm assuming he's kind of hey, we have a doubleheader followed by a West Coast road trip. Let's throw Herman in there type of guy. The 26th guy when they have to have the 26th guy. I don't see him being a long-term solution this year anyway, especially given the off the field stuff. I don't know if they want to give him the benefit of the doubt or an extended leash. Why they don't give it to Davy Garcia, I don't know, but I would rather see him at this point in time than what they've been trotting out in terms of Kluber's 3 innings. Just move Kluber make him the number 5 guy at this point until he can stretch his arm out. If he wasn't ready to go, he shouldn't have started the season.
Yeah, and I think with Garcia, like I think we will see him, let's say, come September, October, if we're there, and like they want his arm. I think they're going to baby him just because, again, it's going to be a full 162 game season coming after a 60 game season. So I just think they just don't want to give him a full season. But I think, let's say he's pitching well, and things are hot and it's necessary. September, October, I think you would see Garcia. At that point, you would see him.
Well, if Severino comes back and is what we hope he can be, what would you go with in terms of a rotation in October, assuming they can right the ship, which you hope they do? But what would you go with behind Cole? Severino?
Probably Monty. It depends how good Garcia is, but I'd rather have Monty and number 3 just kind of switch up so so they don't get too used to the right-hander.
That's fair.
And then number 4, probably, if he's pitching well, it would have to be. Again, I have Talkin. I got to see a little more of him again because he hasn't pitched a full season in a while. So yeah, I'm open to maybe it's Talkin, maybe it's Garcia, but at least 1, 2, 3 would be Cole, Severino, Monty, and then 4. Again, and if it's the case where Kluber is not even the pitcher, that's probably bad news for the Yankees, and that probably means that there might be a wild card team instead of the AL East champions.
And it's also $11 million they would have wasted, which they could have spent on getting maybe somebody a little bit who would give you a little bit more length anyway. If Kluber is just going to give you at most 5 innings, I don't even know if you can count on him. And I wanted him to succeed because he's got a tremendous upside. He's got great stuff when he's right, but he's not fully back yet. And the movement on Taillon's pitches has looked better to me. I don't know about you, but he's looked better out of those 2 than Kluber has. And they gave up nothing to get him anyway. So if you can get anything out of him, it's a bonus. But they spent money against this cap they're trying to, or whatever, the luxury tax they're trying to stay under. They may have wasted $11 million on Kluber, which could have been better spent.
Yeah, I think Taillon's only making like $2.5 million this season.
Something like that, yeah.
Gave enough for him. Yeah, I think Boom before the season started said like, look, we're probably gonna baby at least those 2 guys the whole way. So again, that's
and I get it. You need to do that, but you can't burn the bullpen out in April because of these 2 guys. If Garcia can go deeper into games at this point in time, I'd be willing to try him I'd pick him over Kluber at this point in time. I don't know why they think that that's going to be a recipe for success. Come the end of the year, the bullpen's going to be burnt out if they have to constantly caddy for both of those guys. And you can already kind of see it. They've already used Nick Nelson more than they need to. And he got exposed as the opener. He had 1 good outing, and then they thought, oh, okay, we might have something here. Not yet. Let's pump the brakes on Nick Nelson. But he got overexposed, and that's going to happen with a couple of the guys that they have in the bullpen. I don't want Chad Green to pitch too much either because he's had arm issues in the past. They have to balance it until Britton comes back and they can maybe spread the bullpen out a little bit better. But for now, they can't keep bringing these guys in the 4th inning, 4th, 5th inning every single game. It's not going to work ultimately. And again, like I said, pitching staff has been decent. The bullpen has been okay for the most part. Haven't really had any major blowups. And even in the games they're losing, they're not getting blown out. They're not losing 10-2. The couple games against Tampa Bay, they got knocked around, but for the most part, they've been in there. You can't burn them out, though. And that is one thing I'm worried about with Boone. Well, I guess it's the organization more so, that they want to have Kluber and Taillon be successful. Yes, but you also can't do that at the expense of other people, other pitchers on the team.
I agree. And again, I think Britton's supposed to come back. They said like late May, June, so that'll be helpful. But I just think if we saw like Chapman, like I said, he's gonna obviously last year in the playoffs, that last game against Tampa, I mean, he looked kind of gassed. I mean,
he did.
Even though he's supposed to throw 100 miles per hour, like they were on all his fastballs, they were all on his pitches. So again, like I totally agree. If we don't get more out of the starting rotation, these guys come September, October, it's going to be throwing fluff up, against the competition.
Yeah, and I'm confident Cashman will add pieces at the deadline. the caveat with that is I don't know if I trust him to add pitching. He doesn't have the greatest track record of bringing in pitching. It's really, I mean, you could list who was that guy they brought in twice from Atlanta?
Javi
Starter.
Vasquez.
Yeah. Oh God, thank you, Vasquez. Couldn't think of his last name. Oh, that guy twice. Your Jeff Weavers. The long list of starters that Cashman has. He saw something in there, but nobody else saw it, and it didn't work. And your Sonny Grays and people of that ilk who just don't work in New York, or he tries to find these gems in the pitching department, and he's not good at it. Maybe he finds a couple. He found Chad Green. Okay, we'll give you Chad Green in that one. But beyond that, especially starters, it has been a checkered track record bringing people in. And deadline acquisitions have been even worse. How many of his deadline pitching acquisitions have made an impact?
That's right, like Esteban Loaiza, who was a bust. Like he seems to be better at like position plays, like finding a Voit, finding like a Nick Swisher type, like those type of plays out of the blue one. But yeah, I totally agree with the pitching. Like for some reason, he's never able to find. Or when he brings in someone like Contreras, he's terrible here, but then he goes to the White Sox and he's like he's an ace.
And Sonny Gray, same thing, goes to Cincinnati and he's great. Yeah, not the same guy the Yankees brought in. Or, well, I guess maybe they dodged a bullet with Paxton because he has the TJ surgery. But even with him, they never really got the full potential out of him. And he was probably the best of those acquisitions that Cashman has brought in of that same ilk. He had potential and upside and seemed to be a decent enough guy in the locker room, but it never really fully came together for him. And yeah, again, dodged a bullet. He's out for probably a year and a half now, but still, it's not a good track record. And can you think of any bullpen arms he's brought in that have been, besides maybe Chad Green? I can't think of anybody else who's made an impact.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a year or two ago, Tommy Kahnle had his ups and downs, but there were some good parts with Tommy Kahnle.
That's fair.
Yeah, and the Britt move, I think, overall is okay. Again, initially it was a trade, then it became a signing.
High risk. That was a high risk, high reward type of thing because he was coming off the surgery. So I give Cashman credit for that. I can't, credit where it's due, but for the most part, he's struggled with these midseason acquisitions. But you are right; those are some good ones, Kahnle and Britton. I forgot about Britton, that he was a trade before he was a free agent signing. So yeah, good point.
A couple of weeks ago, like you said, you like to go travel to stadiums. You made the trip down to Tampa, the City Yankees down there. Unfortunately, I mean, only won one of the two games, so at least you got a win out of it. And then, of course, in the this bizarro, the Blue Jays and Dunedin. I guess how is this that experience? I know you obviously you're on the road a lot, but I guess like what were the protocol? I mean, did you have to like show a rapid test or you had to be vaccinated?
Not in Florida.
So you just go in.
Yeah, they did sell the seats in pods of 2 or 4, so you had to be mindful of that. You couldn't buy a single ticket. And Dunedin did a better job of spacing people out than the Rays did at the Trop. Dunedin, it looked like they sold 2 and 4, and they kept you 6 feet apart. They actually blocked off some of the seats with they put a bar on some of the seats that they wouldn't let people sit in. So they did a pretty decent job of it. And the Rays opened up the upper deck, which they never obviously need to do. So they spaced them out a little bit better, but it didn't seem like they did a good job of keeping the groups of 4 together. They seemed like they sold more groups of 6 and 8, things like that. So, but it felt okay. I understand the need for it, but it's also going to keep people from going. And the rules are a lot more lax in Florida. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. When you go to a restaurant in Florida, it's full indoor dining. And it's like before the pandemic. It felt weird, to be honest with you, to be sitting there in a restaurant crowded with people. But that's the way they do it. And so far this year, I've only been to those games in Florida. So I can only speak to that. Hopefully I'll be able to get to something soon in a different state and see how they do it. But I don't really want to curtail my plans too much. And actually, COVID, oddly, has created opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten to go to stadiums normally, like Dunedin. And if the Jays go to Buffalo again, they're actually going to let people in. So there's pros and cons to the whole thing. It's unfortunate that we have to go through this, but It's cruel. You when what is the saying? When life gives you a
Makes
door,
lemons, make lemonade or something.
yeah, something like that. It was
So,
someone I was thinking of, but
yeah, and also Dunedin, if I saw you posted, you actually had your own cardboard cutout in the
yeah,
stands. Is that correct?
yes, yeah.
So
I
how'd you
did that
pull that
actually last
off?
year through the Blue Jays. They on their website they have a site where you can submit a picture and they'll put a cardboard cutout. I did it last year in Buffalo too because my theory was, well, I went up there, I could kind of see into the game. If I get a cutout, I can even more so say I was at a game there. And this time in Dunedin, I got one because I was like, well, I'm going. So I wanted to get a picture with the stupid cutout. So it was like $60. It's not the end of the world. I think it goes to their charity foundation. The problem is a lot of people think I'm a Blue Jays fan.
I
Because
would say if I saw you right away, I would think you're a Canadian.
I get it. I get the why you would think that. Like I'm growing a hockey playoff beard or something here. Yeah, no. I've been to several Blue Jays games, but mostly to see the Yankees.
All right, so yeah, as we wrap this up, just briefly. So, what do you feel of this team? Should we just stick with it? Is it this team's gonna be a disaster, or it's just like there's gonna be a 500 team? Like, what do you feel this team's gonna be at the end of the day?
Gut feeling 93 wins. So I would say we should stick with it. And I think a lot of that is like what you said. They haven't played a lot of the bad teams yet. Like they only played the Orioles those 3 games. They haven't played Detroit. They haven't played Texas. There's a lot of bad teams in the American League. They're facing another struggling team coming up here in Atlanta who didn't get off to the start that they figured they would get off to. This could be another test for the Yankees, but overall, they're good enough. They have enough talent. They will hit, like you said. 93 is probably where I'm settling in now as a number. Will that be enough to win the division? I don't know. Tampa and Toronto, I think, are legitimate teams. They could push that number. I do think that one of the wild cards is definitely going to come out of the East. As far as 2 wild cards, I don't know, but I think 1. So will 93 be enough? I don't know. What do you think they end up doing?
Yeah, Matt, I think they'll be better. I think they'll turn around a little bit. I think they'll do better than 93 wins.
Okay.
Again, because we just haven't seen their best yet. It's just hard to believe.
True.
Again, some of these names we talk about, there's going to be bad all season. So I can see them high 90s wins. I still think at the end of the day, they're going to win the AL East. Just I think that because even if you look at last season, like, okay, yeah, they fell 4 games behind Tampa, but I think if we had a full season and when guys were coming back and, towards the end there, I think they would have been able to like catch up and leapfrog over Tampa. So so I'm not panicking yet. Again, they look like just garbage right now, of course, but I think they will turn it around. So I'm more optimistic about it. So the final question is, if the Yankees win like 20 games in a row, would you be willing to shave your beard?
You know what? That seems like a reasonable set of stakes. Yes, I'll say yes to that.